Hey everyone, happy college football. Welcome to Porcelain Picks. I'm your host, Andrew Fabian. This is week 4's version of Porcelain Audit. This is our chance at Porcelain Picks to be accountable to you, our viewers, going through our wins, more importantly, being accountable to our losses, explaining where we went wrong, where we learned, and where we'll get better headed into week 5. I went into this week telling you 2 things would be true. I committed to 2 things. One of those was that I needed a haircut and I would get a haircut. That happened. 1 for 1 on that. The second one, I told you we were going to follow through with a winning week. We did not follow through on that. 9 and 10, another losing week, back-to-back losing weeks for the Porcelain Picks, bringing us to a total this year of 29 and 39. That is not a good record headed out of the gate. First quarter of the year done. A lot of time to improve, a lot of learning experiences we'll take from this, right? We had a little bit of a switch up this past week, so we had Joey Mack picking 2 locks of the week. Spoiler alert, he went 2 for 2. This guy cannot miss with his Mack analysis. He's got another lock coming to you later on this week, which we'll go through later this week, so keep an eye out for Joey Mack. Second change, we had the Locksmiths coming in. So PTC and Parksy, they end up going 1 for 2. So PTC got his pick right. Parksy was wrong, but not by much. Let's dive into the action. We commit to doing better for you next week. Week 5 is going to be a big week. We've got Alabama, Georgia coming up. We've got Penn State playing host to Illinois. All that and more headed into Thursday, Friday of this week. Smash the subscribe button. Like the video. Give us some crap for getting more losses than victories for you last week. But let's dive into a couple picks and the analysis of the week that was. All right, Illinois on Friday night traveled to Nebraska. I told you Illinois plus 7.5 was a lock 'em flush 'em easy win. That it was. Illinois ends up winning in overtime. I also told you to take the under 42.5. That did not hit. This game went over even without the overtime period. So we went 1 for 2 headed into Saturday. That was better than week 3. So we took it. We were excited going into Saturday. First game of Saturday was a good one. We had Florida -6 at Mississippi State. This game was never in doubt. I told you to take the Gators, a lock 'em, flush 'em play. They easily hit this -6. So that was 2-1 headed into this next game. All right, NC State at Clemson. I told you to take NC State plus 18.5. I told you to take the under 44.5. I faded Clemson again. And they really embarrassed me yet again. All right, Clemson went over the point total by themselves early on in the third quarter. Cade Klubnik showing that he's not a farce after that Appalachian State game. I told you NC State was going to keep this one close as they had beaten Clemson 2 of the last 3 years. That was not the case. They ended up coming pretty close to covering here. It was almost an awful backdoor cover for Clemson bettors. It was a 24-point margin of victory, but really it should have been 40+. NC State got a bunch of scores late. This was a dead wrong pick for both the spread and the under. So moving on. We got Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish. We're hosting Miami, Ohio. My dad was actually at this game. He's a Notre Dame alum. I took the Irish -27.5. I also took the under 44.5. This game was a slugfest. Miami, Ohio stuck around as we thought they would in the first half. I told you it would be 10-3 going into halftime. We were close on that. Notre Dame ends up pulling away and winning by 25 points. So 27.5 was a bust. 44.5 under does hit. That was a lock 'em, flush 'em. Excuse me, getting through a little bit of a cold here. All right, USC at Michigan. I told you to take the Wolverines plus 4.5. We thought Michigan would win outright. I really gave some props to Josh Pate over at Pate State. Those guys with great analysis every week. We learn a lot from them, learn a lot from Josh Pate. This guy was on point, as were we. Michigan comes in and wins outright. That was a crazy last drive. They would have covered anyway, but Michigan gets the victory. If you took Michigan plus 4.5 and followed the Porcelain boys, that was a lock 'em, flush 'em. I also told you, though, to take the under 44.5. That one did miss, so that was a loss. All right, let's go Georgia Tech at Louisville. I told you to take Georgia Tech plus 10.5. That was the correct pick in this game. They end up losing by 12 points to Louisville on a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. There were 10 minutes left at that point, but that was ultimately the final score of the game. 12-point defeat. We had them at plus 10.5. No excuses. The ball bounces the way it bounces. That's a miss. We lose. All right, the first Locksmith lock of the day from Parksy. We had Kent State plus 49.5 at Penn State. That pick looked great headed into the second quarter. 7-0 Penn State just after one. They weren't really moving the ball too great, but you saw at halftime just the yardage disparity, and then really Penn State just blew the doors off the house in this one. So this one was a miss, not by much. Parksy's first pick on the porcelain throne. So we'll give him a little bit of an out. Maybe we'll bring him back for another pick. He also likes to fade Penn State, so keep that in mind if he bets against Penn State again. All right, let's go on. We've got Utah at Oklahoma State. I told you to take Oklahoma State plus 1.5 at the time of the recording. Man, this was a rough one. They end up missing a 2-point conversion after scoring a touchdown. They end up losing by 3. That 2-point conversion, had they converted, would have brought us to a 1-point defeat, and we would have hit our bet. But again, ball bounces how it does. We lose. Let's go South Florida plus 17.5 versus Miami. I told you to take South Florida after that showing against Alabama. I thought these guys were for real. They were not. Terrible pick. Miami destroys them. All right, let's go. Locksmiths, lock of the day. We had PTC hitting the biggest game of the day. This guy, no stranger to the SEC. He takes Tennessee minus 6.5 at Oklahoma for Oklahoma's first ever SEC game hosted at home. Tennessee wins this game. It's never really in question with the spread. They end up winning by 10 points. Could have been 8. Again, with Oklahoma, had they hit a 2-point conversion there at the end, that had no indications here for us. Tennessee minus 6.5. That was a locksmith lock of the day. Lock it up for PTC. I also told you to take the under 57.5. I thought the defenses were the strengths of these two teams. They were going to be able to stop one another. On the quarterbacking side, you saw Jackson Arnold got pulled from the game for Oklahoma. This under was never in question. 57.5. This was a lock 'em, flush 'em. All right, Joey Mack coming to you. 2 picks. He had 2 night games. He told you to take Akron plus 6.5. This was actually paying out at minus 140. So I mentioned this previously. We were going to only take a positive 0.8 unit for this instead of what we typically do, which is 0.9 units for wins. And again, we take a minus 1 full unit for the loss. This is to make up for Vegas's juice because we are accountable here. We play by the rules. We want to give you a real indication of the money you're going to lose, or in this case, lose so far this season. So Akron gets a touchdown. Let's go. Joey Mack on point again. All right, second Joey Mack lock of the week. We had Florida International and Monmouth. These teams, he said to take the over 58.5. 2 prolific offenses coming in, 2 weak defenses. Again, never in doubt. Joey Mack hits by the end of the third quarter. He got 87 points in this game. Never in doubt. He clearly knows what he's talking about when it comes to Mack. Follow this man. Follow, subscribe for more. All right, the night game, I took Kansas State minus 6.5 at BYU. I thought Kansas State was going to be one of the strongest teams in the Big 12 this year and potentially win that conference. They get smoked by BYU. BYU's defense is legit. There's men on that defensive front. Kansas State can't score a touchdown in this game. That minus 6.5 ends up being a loss. Luckily, I had the under 49.5. That was victorious. So lock it, flush it for that one. All right. So again, 9-10 on the week, an improvement over our terrible week 3, but still not up to snuff. Expect a victorious week in week 5. All right. Subscribe. Give us some crap for our losses. We're here to be accountable to you. At Porcelain Picks, we are here to deliver the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne. For Joey Mack, for the Locksmiths, I'm Andrew Fabian. Happy college football.